Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm going to show you today my way of styling Rainbow Dash. And I've watched a couple YouTube videos showing different people's way of doing it, which are great, but none of them had the way I do it, so I thought I'd show you just the way I did it. So for today's project, you're going to need a reference picture, so you know what you're going for, a comb, a pointy tool. It can be a needle, a long needle, a short needle, the tine of a fork, whatever. Some really sharp scissors, water, a pressing cloth for the iron, and optional is a flat iron. And also an elastic, and optional would be like a bobby pin or something to kind of help you hold the hair. So I am just going to, this Rainbow Dash is going to end up getting used for a different project, and I think I cut her tail too short, so I'm going to try over. And to show you this first part, I'm just going to use Applejack here. She also has front bangs, so this method, what I'm going to show you, is good for if they have front bangs, or if you need to them to have equal hair on both sides. If you just want, if their hair goes to one side, you know, like Fluttershy, it's fine to just leave it like that. But if you want it, I mean, then you could have a curl going that way and that way. But if you want it parted like Rainbow Dash's hair, then I'm just going to show you how to make that thatch. And that type of thing is in any Monster High doll, Barbie doll. You won't see a line down their hair. You'll see this crisscross pattern, and that's called a thatch. So what I'm going to start out with, I just took her out of the box a second ago, and you're just going to want to wet the hair down. And you probably know that the longer you play with their hair, kind of the more manageable it gets. And for my Rainbow Dash, it came with this tinsel hair too, and I just spent some time and just ripped it out. So what you're going to want to do first is decide where the hair should come up and where it should go back. And really the ears is the best part for that, because I mean, otherwise the hair is going to be in front of their ears. So you're going to take a plug from the right and move it to the left, and a plug from the left and move it to the right. And a plug is just, you know, each of these little sections of hair. These little, I don't know, plug of hair, like that. So I'm just going to take this one that I found. Well, you're going to want to separate these. So that's what we're trying to cover up, is that patch of baldness there. And just however you can hold it that is comfortable for you, that you can make work. So I'm just using my sharp pointy thing to separate a plug, and I'm going to move that from the right to the left. And I'm just going to kind of keep it separate. And then I'm going to grab one on the left and move it to the right. Now when you're doing this, you could stop every time and put the hair, like hold it in a bobby pin or a teeny little clippy thingy, if it's just not working out for you to just kind of hold it with your different fingers. But for me, it's just easier to just kind of have octopus fingers and try to hold it. So you're just literally going to go back and forth. So I'm almost all the way done, and I just kind of ran into a problem. This Applejack, she has, where it's tried to be 2 plugs, the plastic, they did it too close together or whatever, and it's kind of just become a really big one. So this is what I was mentioning before. You just kind of have to decide, do you want to lay the whole thing over and it's going to look a lot bigger, or do you want to split it in half? So in this case, you would just want to try both ways and see what looks best. So we kind of saw what it was all in one. And I'm going to say, yeah, just in my case, I'm just going to split that one large plug in half. Also, you're not really going to see that part because her bangs are going to go up. So, like I was saying before, you probably know that the more you kind of mess with this hair, the more it kind of tames itself. But what you may or may not know about this synthetic hair is that it can actually handle very high temperatures of heat if it's wet. And so what we're going to do is to set this thatch so it doesn't just like pop out of place. So it's nice and kind of permanent like that. And by permanent, I mean it's staying there itself, not that it's like melted down, because it's not. We're going to set that with the iron and water. So quickly before we do that, so for Rainbow Dash, you would then take this section of hair and just do the exact same thing, but you'd start at the top and just thatch it from here down. So when you have both parts, the front and the back, thatched, then you're going to do this next step. And I should say you're going to be using a hot iron, so you should ask for a parent's help if you don't iron your own clothes, because you could get really injured. So you're going to want to make sure that this hair is wet, like all the way wet. If this hair is wet, then it's not going to melt. If it's not wet, then it could melt. So then you're going to take a pressing cloth. This just happens to be an old washcloth. And you're going to make sure it is wet, like probably wetter than that. So this is wet. You're going to hold this the way that you want it. So I'm going to just kind of do it. I'm going to hold it with my fingers. So it's kind of just going in a V forward versus just parallel, I guess is the way to say it. And then I'm going to put this cloth that's wet right on it. And so now I know that the hair is in place because I was holding it nice and tight. And I can feel her ears are right there. And I have my iron just on all the way. Cotton, linen, as hot as it goes is just fine. And then I'm going to turn mine to steam all the way because I just want everything to stay wet. So it's going to be hot and wet. And you're just going to take the iron and iron it. And if you hear sizzling, that's good. If you don't, then that's bad and you need to add water. So now that is super hot, so just be careful. And now you see, instead of like floating up, it's just really ironed down. And it's not melted or anything. It's just completely fine. And it's just nice and pressed in place. So then while it's wet, for Rainbow Dash especially, I guess, you're going to want to put it how you want it. So in Rainbow Dash's case, you're just going to put this all together, and you can use, where's the comb? Oh. you can use a comb to just get it nice and right where you want it. And then you're going to take a little ponytail holder and just wrap it right there. Also for Rainbow Dash, now is a fine time to iron her tail out. So off the top of my head, I don't know if Applejack has a straight tail or not. So I'll just show you this one I had already done. So you would just get the tail really wet and place it, just sandwich it in between your cloth like that and pull it so it's under there really straight, and you would just iron it. And then it's going to come out nice and straight. Okay, so after everything is thatched and ironed and put in ponytails or placed exactly how you want it, then you would just let that dry. So this Rainbow Dash is dry, but you can see how it was dried. Her front hair, her forelock, I guess you could say, was in an elastic, and her side mane, I just pulled to the side and had it just wrapped around her leg, just so it's holding it nice and tight to her neck. I did have an elastic around her hair right here to hold it, and it did put a crimp in it. So I just wet it down again and brushed it with a comb, and then didn't put that elastic on it. But something else you could do is to get the hair really wet and use a straightening iron. This one's kind of really big for a little pony. And just really quickly, and this on really low heat, directly do it. But I didn't have to do that. When you're cutting pony hair, you want to cut it quite long at first, because measure twice, cut once kind of a thing. And also, you probably want to kind of go back and forth between cutting it wet and cutting it dry. Because if you were to, you know, like say, get this tail really wet, it's going to go from being, you know, kind of that long to all of a sudden quite a bit longer. And then if you cut it while it's wet where you think it should be, then all of a sudden when it dries, it's shrunk up quite a bit on you. So that's what you just want to be careful, is to watch out to make sure that you're not going to end up cutting it too short. So this is also where it's good to have a reference picture so you know exactly what you're kind of going for. And Rainbow Dash has hair on both sides, and her mane is quite short. And so I'm just going to kind of get a starting point for us. I feel like on my last one I cut her mane just a little bit too short, especially on the green part. So I'm just going to, I'm just going to cut it a little bit longer this time. And you want nice and sharp scissors so that this is not frustrating for you. You kind of just are going to get some broad strokes of what you want, and I know all of this is going to come off. Okay, already she looks better. Just going to cut here and just cut V shapes. And then down her nose quite a bit. Let's see. comes to a point down here by your nose, so I'm just gonna get rid of some more of this. For this front part, I think I'm going to comb it up here for a second and just try to give her a little bit more layers, I guess you could say. I'm not really going to take much of the length off, really, just cut some notches into this hair. So for her side hair, she actually has a section that's as short as her cheek, and then it kind of gets longer from there. So I'm going to cut that pointy shape. I'm going to try to just do it for the orange. A little longer than I think, just because it's wet. And cut it back this way. And the yellow I'm going to do quite a bit longer than that orange. And then the green longer still. Okay, so much better. And repeat on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to move on to her tail, which I think I cut too short last time. And for her tail, we're just going to kind of go crazy on it a little bit, just making it a mess. So I just kind of jaggedly cut that, and then we can cut the top a little bit, a layer shorter up here. Just give her a couple layers. I actually think that that's probably pretty good. And then you just let her dry and put her on the shelf and be happy that she looks like she should. There you have Rainbow Dash. And just remember that if you're going to make their hair, if you want to straighten their hair, you can. It just has to be very wet. The towel in between the iron and the hair needs to be really wet. And if you hear steam, that's a good thing. Sizzling. If you hear sizzling, that's a good thing. If you don't, then it's not. And thanks very much for watching my YouTube video. I hope you enjoy.